Pritchard.
I'm Hannah.
We're with Whirlwind Heating and Refrigeration.
And we're proud to be sponsors of Transition Salt Springs Climate Action Coach Program.
Welcome to the Climate Action Coach Let's Go Shopping for an EV webinar, where you're going to learn about electric cars, e-bikes, and the incentives you can get to purchase them. First, we'd like to thank our sponsors, the CRD, the Victoria Foundation, Van City, and the Salt Spring Island Foundation, all who make what we do possible. Thank you very much. Our Climate Action Coach sponsors are the tree sponsors, Whirlwind and Home Hardware, and the branch sponsor is Fresco Refrigeration. Because of the backing of these sponsors, we're able to present public education webinars such as this one tonight. Certainly welcome all of you to our evening tonight. It's going to be interesting. This is a Climate Coach webinar, and it's, of course, part of Transition Salt Spring. Now, before you go and buy an EV, you're going to want to know about rebates. And that's what tonight is about. It's about rebates and the choices you have among vehicles. Rebates that you'll be able to take advantage of to make the purchase that you want. And the dealers that we have with us tonight will be presenting you vehicles that should be fitting within that rebate range. Our webinar tonight is going to be basically 4 segments. We're going to have, first of all, an overview of the electric car scene here on Salt Spring, given by the Salt Spring EV Group. And then secondly, we'll be hearing from Plug-in BC, which is where we're going to find all about the incentives that are available to consumers and also to commercial operators of fleets and so on. So that'll be interesting. And that will include chargers. Then we're going to hear about electric bikes, because electric bikes, of course, are a very viable alternative. And so we have a Salt Spring bike maker, manufacturer. And finally, we have 6 Vancouver Island car dealerships, all representing different brands, including used vehicles. And they will be presenting in 5-minute segments their offerings to you. So, and throughout the evening, we're going to have some polls for you, and as well some prizes at the end of the night to kind of keep you guys on the hook if we can. I think I'm ready to throw this over to Bryan. Bryan is the chair of Transition Salt Spring. And Bryan, could you please take over from here for now?
Sure. Yeah, thanks so much, Rob. And it's really great to be with everyone. Happy New Year. This is our first webinar of the new year, and there's been a lot of work planning this webinar and other programming that you will hear about at the end of the webinar. I want to first ask all of you here, we got 75 folks with us here today in the chat. Just practice using the chat, because you're going to be using this a lot tonight as you ask questions of the folks who are presenting tonight. So let us know where you're from. We actually, the Climate Action Coach program is reaching out to the Southern Gulf Islands as well. So not just Salt Spring Island, but other, there's Pender, awesome. Vesuvius, Victoria, oh my God, from the other island, awesome. I mean, we noticed that starting to happen, which is really, really cool. So really a hearty welcome to everyone from Salt Spring, from the other Gulf Islands, from Pender, from Galliano, and from the Big Island close to us. I wanted to acknowledge, first of all, where, Anne, I liked your adding of Wenanish Bay. That's wonderful. I'm going to start saying that for Fulford Harbor from now on. And speaking of which, I'd like to acknowledge the land that I'm standing on here on the southern part of Salt Spring Island. It's part of the lands and waters of the Sinchothan and Holcominum speaking peoples. The Sinchothan speaking peoples more sort of in the southern part of Salt Spring and extending to the other islands, and the Holcominum more sort of on the northern part of Salt Spring and some of the other areas to the north of us. The climate crisis is something we think about a lot at Transition Salt Spring, as you can imagine. And You know, it's a crisis of collective action, isn't it? I mean, it's expressed in the way our governments have failed to act to regulate and incentivize business and the public sphere. And that's partly about us too, and the leaders we elect and the pressure we put on them to do that action on behalf of all of us. And Transition Salt Springs is working a lot with the Wasanich Leadership Council, which is an organization that represents the Sarlip, Siout, and Sikkim First Nations over in Saanich, who call this area where I stand now home. And I've been learning a lot from interacting with these folks. We've got a proposal that we've developed called Quanidal, which if you translate it into the Chothan language means learning and working together. And I have been learning, somewhat slowly I admit, that the failure of collective action is also often about the failure to really slow down and listen to one another. And I'm really grateful to the representatives from the Wasanich Leadership Council who are working with us in an exciting project we look forward to speaking with you about at some point, but it's been a very important lesson for me. So with that mindfulness, or that request for mindfulness, I invite you to be here and listen and participate tonight. It's in listening that we can come up with a path forward. And if we don't do that, we just get an increasingly frantic game of tennis where, you know, we wait for the other party to slip up when we slam the ball on the other side of the court. And I don't think that's how we're going to get out of this crisis, where we need to do it together. So I'm truly excited to hear from a wide range of people tonight on how we can get around in ways that pollute less. Outside of the food we eat is actually the biggest part of that pie, as is our air travel. And so personal transportation really is a big chunk of what we can control in our personal lives. So we welcome you. If you've never been to a Climate Action Coach webinar before, and a special hearty welcome to all of you. If you don't yet receive our helpful newsletter, which actually tells you about upcoming events like this, or our new wood stove upgrade rebate, our new broadened, expanded rainwater harvesting rebate, it's a one-stop shop. So I definitely encourage you to sign up at transitionsaltspring.com for that. And I'll tell you more about that later. But without any further ado, back over to Rob. So we really hope you enjoyed tonight, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Brian. We're going to start this evening with a little poll. And this, I'm sure the dealers will be interested in this, among others. So we're going to ask you two questions. Do you have an electric vehicle or an e-bike right now? Or are you thinking of buying one?
Well, we're getting some good stats in here, Rob. It looks like most people, looking about 75% or so, don't have an electric vehicle, and 95% are thinking about buying one. So let me just share those results with folks in the room here so you can see that. So folks, we have a prime audience here. People are ready to buy.
Wow, that happened, Darlene and Rob, with the heat pump event, where basically similar stat, 95% of people didn't have a heat pump. We should actually go back to them and see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, that means that we have some really good information for you tonight. And I know, having gone through the process of buying an electric vehicle, how much research is a huge part of you wanting to make the right decision. And so tonight, hopefully you're going to leave with more information than you came in with. I'm quite sure you will. These are all the dealerships that are with us. And I'm sure there's maybe somebody that isn't there. Just so you know, GM, one of the major GM dealers on the island, declined to be involved because of the difficulties that they're having with the Bolt right now. So there you have it, including HILLEATER bikes from Salt Spring Island. So just to make sure, because we got to make sure people get the electric bikes going in their lives too. Okay, also I want to introduce you to Michael Stanyer. Michael Stanyer is from Plug-in BC, and Michael will be giving us a great oversight and insight into what is available, and there's a lot available in incentives. And also we have David Elderton from HILLEATER bikes, and David will be he makes them. He makes the bikes right here in Salt Spring, and he has a lot to offer in terms of knowledge for us to gain here tonight. And finally, we're going to go and we're going to begin with Jim Stanton for his presentation. Jim has been the guy that's been a big part of why Salt Spring is so EV oriented. And he plays a major role on the island in keeping us informed and keeping tabs on who's got an EV. So over to you, Jim. I'd like to welcome you, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay, welcome everybody. I'm just going to put on my presentation now. Yeah, my job's kind of to bring you up to date of where we were and where we're coming from on the electric vehicles. Some background, focused highly on emissions because you go from an internal combustion engine to an EV, and that's helping the emissions of the planet. We only have one atmosphere. What about BC? It's a wonderful place to be for electric vehicle. We have an existing clean power grid where the water comes like snow, raindrops, whatever, through the grid right down to our electric bike or our car. This is very convenient. Charge at your home. This is wonderful. We have ideal weather for electric cars. Specifically, not too hot. We get kind of cool, but that's okay. The batteries are fine with cool, but hot, they're not really big on hot. We don't get anywhere near the temperatures that are a problem. So it's a great place for weather. Notice I didn't say climate. And we have an inexpensive electricity on Salt Spring and British Columbia, I should say. That's a quick chart in US dollars of what people pay in other countries, and we're right in there around Indonesia. So it's great to be in supernatural BC, looking to be an EV owner or be an EV owner. I saw in the group there's already some EV owners out there. So I run the EV group. We started 10 years ago as a coffee conversation when there was less than 10 EVs on the island. And we were talking about the future, and you know, there was a lot of Leafs at the time, so how many are there? And the Art Spring charger was in, but we were kind of thinking to the future that that might not be enough. So we started with an initial mission to see if we could do some more public charging stations, but also support EV tourism. Could we get people to come to the island when they don't bring their house with them, where they could be charging their car? And that got us going. What do? Well, we've now grown up to 11 people, and we've changed our mission to keep the conversation going. What we find is if we're talking, people either talk back and everything, we let them know some stuff they don't know, they go buy a car. It's not quite that simple, but anyway, back to those initial projects, we worked with the CRD and we installed 5 B&Bs, chargers at 5 B&Bs. That was really good. And again, back to promoting more free public access stations. So then we proceeded to articles in the paper, educational booklets. That's one over on the right side there. We did parades, socials, anything to keep that conversation going. In 2008, we did a really big show, 4 days, and all sorts of things going on. And I think some of you know about that. We do car dealer shows, and I put a couple of stars there because when we do it, you can come over and we can show off the cars, which is really good. And we've done Zoom courses. Before that, we used to do the live ones, and that was really good. We did them in the library, EV 101, Q&A, that sort of thing. And we do statistics studies that are driven by the Climate Action Plan. So I will refer to those in a minute. So what did all this look like? Well, here's a little cartoon in the driftwood, sort of talking about our parades, which was kind of fun. But what did the parade look like? Actually, it was a dress up in the middle of winter, which didn't look like that. And this was really fun. And as soon as the pandemic's over, we'll be back doing those. Just a great way for the bikes and the cars and the kids and the adults to get together and have fun. Revolutions in 2018, we really wanted to highlight Salt Spring as a EV center. And we had people come from Manitoba and California. Big show. What did that look like? Well, here's Elizabeth coming in a EV, our taxi company, to talk to us. That's a 1912 Baker or Detroit and a cool bike. And we also did all of this kind of stuff. It was a big fun event. Back to that keep the conversation going topic. Results, we're #1 in BC for passenger vehicle ownership by population. That's 4.6%. That's really good. Maybe we still are. We have 12 free public charging stations with 18 wands. And a real shout out to the generous donations and support of our dealer friends. You know who you are. One of them I see smiling on the screen right now. You guys have been wonderful in contributing to our infrastructure, providing some money to entice things. So that's the history. But what about the emissions? It's all about emissions as far as we're concerned. So we've done some surveys starting a couple of years ago on a variety of things. But based on an assumption that we have 300 owners, we're bringing down our emissions by 800 tons of CO2 avoided per year. And a lot of fuel doesn't have to come to Salt Spring anymore from the tar sands over dangerous goods ferries, I should point out. So it's the thin edge of the wedge, I have to say, but that's what we're doing. So here's a chart done by the Victoria EV Association that shows Salt Spring is #1.
Jim,
And the national, yes?
you got about 30 seconds.
Okay, CBC, the national came to see us, which was good. Now, just winding down, our focus is emissions. So here, the red bar going across the center of the screen is where we would like to be in 2030. And you can see it's declining emissions. What does that, emissions over 2007. What does that really mean? Well, now we have a chart that shows us how many cars do we have to add each year to make that. So now we can track if we're ahead, behind, have to sell more cars from you car dealers, that sort of thing. Really, really important chart. We have to add 80 cars in the last year. So what are we going to do in the future? We're going to keep the conversation doing by going these things, doing what we were, but also looking at the new technologies of V2L, V2H, distributed power. And tonight I'm announcing our program, Ask an EV Owner. We would love to do this in the field, but we can't do it. Bonnie won't let us. So in the meantime, we have owners with the 12 most popular vans that are not for sale. And if you go to this webpage, you can get in contact with them, and they will show you their car. And so you don't have to get on the ferry and go to some other place. You can find out about that on the island. So we hope this is going to be a really popular program. My last slide, if you're at Country Grocer, go talk to somebody who's got an electric car. We're a real friendly bunch. We rarely bite, and we're happy to talk to you. So there you are, Salt Spring electric vehicles. Dun, da, da.
Fantastic. Some great information in there, Jim. Thank you very much. And in fact, some information that we're going to be testing our viewers on near the end of the show, because if they want to win some prizes, they'll need to regurgitate some of those stats. So, Jim, you've done an amazing job of making this a great environment for EVs on Salt Spring and encouraging everybody, as you always do.
And my group. Thank you.
Yes, your group. I can't deny you that. Yeah. I just want to take this moment to promote the Transition Salt Spring Enterprise Co-op. They offer a Green Loans Salt Spring program, and they provide low-interest financing and related mentoring support for projects and enterprises on Salt Spring. What they're after is to try to advance community objectives such as increased community resilience, food security, community and ecosystem health, and climate change adaptation and mitigation. So you can apply this to a number of projects that you're taking on to make your life greener. And so this would also apply to EV battery chargers, if that's what you're looking for. Now, just go to the link you see on the screen, and they'll follow up with you. They're keen to hear from people. We're going to move on now to introduce Plug-in BC's presentation. Michael, please take it away.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us tonight. I work for a not-for-profit organization called the Fraser Basin Council, and within that, we have a group of staff in the plug-in BC kind of working group in collaboration, and we get to collaborate with institutions and the province and communities throughout BC to work on electric vehicle topics. As mentioned, I am in rural Prince George right now, and we've been having some storms here, so I'm just going to try and reduce my bandwidth and not turn my camera on. But normally I'm in Courtney, not too far away. One of the main program areas that I work on is called Emotive, and we do electric vehicle events and presentations and such all over the province. I think a few people on the call here tonight have participated in those with us in the past. But I'm not going to get into that program. Tonight we're going to talk about rebates instead. So let's get into it. Oh, just got to get my screen selected. All right. So if you're shopping for a new electric vehicle, you're going to encounter both the provincial Clean BC Go Electric and the federal Canada HYUNDAI rebate programs. So those two can be combined on a qualifying new vehicle, and you can get up to $8,000 in a rebate. You'll see the lower amounts there, $1,500 and $2,500. Those are typically going to apply to plug-in hybrid vehicles, whereas the full amounts apply to fully battery electric vehicles. Though there are some cases where there's a plug-in hybrid vehicle that has a big enough battery that bumps it into the kind of the fully electric vehicle category. I'm going to get into the differences and the details of those programs on the next slide, but I also wanted to mention some other rebates you may have heard of. BC Scrap It, which has been quite popular in the past and used to offer a lot more money than it does now, but it is still around, and this is a program where you scrap your existing vehicle, and yeah, you can get $500 off a newer used battery electric or fully battery electric vehicle, or $400 off of a plug-in hybrid EV. But you do get more actually for buying an e-bike. So if you have some really old vehicle, not really worth anything to sell, but you want to scrap it, look into this program. It does require a few steps, and you have to apply in advance and make sure that your vehicle qualifies. But definitely something to look into. And then there's also the Specialty Use Vehicle Incentive, or SUVI. And this one covers basically everything that's not a passenger vehicle. It's mostly fleet focused, but there is some stuff in there for individuals. If you're looking for an electric motorcycle or like a low speed electric scooter, you can get rebates for individuals, but then it covers everything up through like medium and heavy duty trucks and buses. There's also a cargo e-bike component. So that's not your normal sort of commuting e-bike, it's a cargo e-bike. And those are only available to fleets. So you have to have a business license basically, or be an organization, like formally an organization. And then you can get a rebate on a cargo e-bike as one of your fleet vehicles. So, but bouncing back to just the passenger cars, I wanted to point out some of the differences between the federal and provincial rebates. The first big one is that for the federal rebate, a qualifying vehicle has to have a base model that's priced below $45,000, whereas for the provincial one, it has to be priced below $55,000. So there are some cases, and I'll show you in an example on the next slide, there are some cases where a vehicle qualifies for the provincial rebate, but not the federal one. And these are point of sale rebates. So you don't have to like mail anything in. These are all done at the dealership when you do the transaction. I want to put a note in there that dealerships can't charge a rebate fee or anything like that. I haven't really seen that coming up in BC, but you know, I spend my days scrolling various EV forums throughout Canada, and we've seen that try and appear, but just keep that in mind. Now, another big difference is that the federal rebate is available per individual per calendar year, so you can do that once every year, whereas the provincial one is only available for an individual once in the lifetime of the program. So if you're buying multiple electric vehicles over the next couple of years, you'll only get the provincial rebate once. Oh, and one other important thing that I wanted to mention is that these are rebates, they're not price reductions. So when you're crunching the numbers, you're going to pay tax based on like the full amount of the vehicle, and then you get the rebate after all of that is paid. It happens immediately, but keep in mind that they're not a price reduction. And most dealerships, you'll see, they'll be able to walk you through that, and you also see if you're configuring something online, you'll see that taken into account. Okay, so next, I just want to look at some rebate examples, and show you kind of how those different base model thresholds come into play. So I'm going to use the example of the exciting new Hyundai Ioniq 5, and this lends itself really well to this example. So the example here is the total top trim model, the preferred long-range all-wheel drive with the ultimate package. So the Ioniq 5 has a base model of just under $45,000, so that gets it in the door for both the federal and the provincial rebate. And then the preferred long-range all-wheel drive is just under $55,000. And then on top of that, there's an ultimate package. So this is something that's important to know if you're looking at the lists of eligible vehicles, because both Transportation Canada at the federal level and New Car Dealers BC at the provincial level, they keep lists of just everything that qualifies on their websites. And if you go to the list, you'll see that the ultimate package isn't on that list, but that's because it's just a package. So with these vehicles, as long as the model qualifies, you can add, you know, towing packages and premium floor mats and all that stuff, and it doesn't disqualify the vehicle. Anyways, because it has that base model, it gets both the federal and provincial rebates. In contrast, the Polestar 2 single motor, which is a new variation that Polestar has introduced recently, its MSRP is $49,900. So it is going to qualify for the Clean BC provincial rebate, but it doesn't have any sort of base model that's low enough to get the federal amount. So it's just going to get the $3,000 provincial rebate. And now recently, in the case of the Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, Tesla used to have a range limited option that honestly, like, very few people bought, but it was technically like an introductory model with a price tag low enough to get the whole, or get the standard range Model 3 into the rebate programs. Now Tesla has eliminated that range limited model, so we just have the regular Model 3 Standard Range Plus at just under $59,000. So because it doesn't have that base model, it no longer gets any of the rebates. So this kind of structure is why you'll see something in the case of the decked out Ioniq 5 at $59,999, getting all the rebates, whereas the similarly priced Model 3 there doesn't get any. So I just wanted to point those out, and that's how it happens. And before we move on from vehicles, I just wanted to mention this. A lot of people talk about the expensive nature of electric vehicles. But in Canada now, the average vehicle purchase is above $40,000. And a lot of the electric vehicles, even before rebates, are just around $40,000, plus or minus $2,000 or $3,000. So the price is really coming down. And then once you add rebates and the low cost of operation on top of that, the dollars and cents just make a lot of sense. The $40,000 is an average. It's not the mean, and it's kind of skewed up by our willingness to buy expensive trucks and luxury SUVs and even electric vehicles. But it's a neat milestone to be at, that the electric vehicles are starting to be around the average. Okay, let's move into the charger rebates. So in BC, we have the Clean BC Go Electric charger rebates, and these are administered by BC Hydro and also by Fortis over where Fortis is providing electricity. Let's start with single family homes. And these rebates, I should say, are for level 2 charging stations, the stuff that you're commonly going to have in home. So it's going to be on a 40-ish amp connection. These aren't fast charging stations. These are the ones that are going to, quite confidently charge your vehicle overnight. Every electric vehicle comes with like a 110 volt charging cable. But if you need to upgrade that and go a bit faster, then these are the charging stations that you're going to be getting. They start from around $600 and can go up from there depending on if you're getting something that's Wi-Fi enabled, so you can control it from your phone, or so it can communicate with smart devices. But you should be able to find stuff for around the $600 mark to get started. And the rebates will give you up to $350, up to 50% of the cost to install the station. So it's going to basically cover about half of the cost of an entry-level station. Some people are going to have a welding plug or an RV plug, or maybe a dryer plug that can support their charging station near where they park. Otherwise, you're going to also have to budget to get that infrastructure installed. And then workplaces can also apply for up to $2,000 or 50% off the cost per level 2 charging station. And I want to quickly mention for anyone who is living in a multi-unit residential building, has a condo somewhere, there is a special stream of rebates for that situation. And these are kind of structured in a way that you prepare an EV-ready plan. So you have a consultant or an engineering company or an electrical company come in and kind of develop a plan of how to get all of your parking spaces retrofitted. Or I shouldn't say all of them, I should say one parking space per residential unit retrofitted with an energized plug. And then you move on from there to get the infrastructure installed so that you've got all the panels and wiring and conduit. And that's sort of another step of those rebates until you've got that energized plug there. And then once you have all the wiring in, then there's another step to get the actual charging stations put in. And at that point, you're getting $1,400 per charging station, up to 50% of the cost. So some people, depending on how the strata is set up and what the rules are, you might not need an expensive charging station, in which case you just get something normal and get 50% of the cost of whatever that is. And so these programs are run by BC Hydro and Fortis, and they're funded by the province. So from my office, we don't run these programs, but we do have EV advisors, and they can work with Strata to kind of navigate this process. A couple more charging programs to mention. One is Go Electric Fleets. This is kind of similar in structure to the multi-unit residential program, where there's support for someone to come in and produce a fleet assessment, and that's going to tell you now what's the low-hanging fruit in your fleet, which vehicles you can switch to electric more easily, and what impacts are going to come out of that. And then you can also do your infrastructure assessment to see where you should be putting in charging stations and how many you're going to need, and give you a good long-term plan so you're not digging up your parking lot or digging up your yard over and over to add more charging stations. Next, you get support for actually putting in the infrastructure. So again, that's panels, conduit, wiring, plugs, all that stuff, and then finally, afterwards, charging stations. Now, one difference between this and the home charging stations is you can put in higher powered fast charging stations as well with Go Electric Fleets. And so this is open to businesses, but also organizations, school districts, that sort of thing. And then finally, the public charger program. This isn't for individuals. This is direct current fast charging stations to be installed in underserved areas. And the point of this one is to fill geographic gaps or support areas with high demand for charging. So that could be an urban area with a lot of density of electric vehicles, just needing more charging stations to help out the existing ones. But mostly it is for filling in geographic gaps. This is a program that we run out of our office, and so we're always trying to reach out. Maybe somebody knows someone in local government who's thinking about how to get some more fast chargers in. They can definitely come talk to us about that. And the range for the rebates in this program is from $20,000 for sort of a lower powered fast charging station, right up to $130,000 for something really high powered.
Michael, we're about at time. I'm wondering if there's any last words from you.
Just a couple last words. Perfect. This is the very end of it. So everything that I've talked about, whether we run it from our office or not, you can find it at pluginbc.ca/incentives.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Michael. I know we all have a lot of questions, and we'll see them come through in the chat. I just would like to ask one, and then I keep it moving, and that is a question just about what kind of rebates, if you could reiterate what kind of rebates there are for used EVs.
Oh, sure, yeah. In BC, we're a little bit behind right now because we don't really have anything for used EVs except for Scrap It, which is just $400 or $500 depending on what you're getting, and it used to be much more. So other provinces have introduced some new used EV rebates, and I know the policy analysts BC are very well aware of that.
So you think there might be hope on the horizon then for some changes there?
I'm always hopeful for it. Yeah.
That would be great. Having heard all that, especially all that great, are you interested in buying an EV, and would you use the BC and federal incentives? What is your biggest obstacle to purchasing an EV? You got cost, lots of people talk about that. Range, always a big topic. Or knowledge, just feeling like it's just such a big leap to make, going from that gas tank to that plug-in thing. And how are responses going there?
Not badly. It's looking like absolutely the vast majority, 85, 86% of folks are saying that they would take advantage of the incentives. Some thought maybe, and a couple are saying no. Maybe it's for those folks who don't like bureaucracy and paperwork. They are going to skip the incentives and move straight to the purchase. But definitely the vast majority are looking at those incentives. Biggest obstacle, cost, is really coming in as we expect. And I'm going to just share the results here with everyone. Cost is for many folks really the biggest issue, and likely until there's more used stock for a lot of us, including myself, EVs probably won't be an issue. So we do have MOTORIZE here tonight that's going to be helping us understand the market for used vehicles. Range and knowledge came in second at about a tie for some folks wanting to be able to purchase. So hopefully we can answer some of those questions tonight and get people feeling a bit more confident about potentially buying an EV for themselves. So back to you, Rob.
That's great. Thank you very much. Now we'll go to David Elderton of HILLEATER Bikes from Salt Spring Island. And David, you have you have about 7 minutes to share with us and enlighten us on electric bikes. We now see that there is an incentive, quite an attractive incentive to buy an electric bike.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Unfortunately for us, those incentives require a storefront, a traditional storefront. And we run our shop off of our property. So we are not involved in the rebates at all. It's just, I guess, the way the ball drops. But anyway, it doesn't seem to be a big problem for us. So I'm gonna share some pictures with you if I can here. Let's see if this works. Okay, so they're sort of mixed up a bit here. So sorry, let me introduce myself. David Elderton from HILLEATER. We're based on Salt Spring. We have a shop on our property, and we have a website. This is a screenshot from our website. And we sell all sorts of goodies for e-bikes. We have our own brand of bikes. And just a slight correction, we don't actually build bikes from scratch here on the island. We do a special edition of our bikes that we basically highly modify the bike, and that is our sort of signature bike. But we do have our own brand of bikes, and we spec them out for the hills of Salt Spring. Here is some of the goods on our website. We actually sell all over the world. I sent a cable to the UK today, and mostly to the States, but we have e-bike specific accessories and replacement parts, and that's part of our offering. Here's the page, our bike offerings that we have. So we have a step through and a diamond frame, sort of hybrid style bikes. And we have a cargo bike, which is on sale right now. And there's a great picture of it. Sold one of those last year. They're be great for hauling your stuff to the market or something like that in an eco-friendly way. And my slides aren't in the proper order, but bear with me. Here's our step-through bike, which is being very popular with men and women. That's our diamond frame bike. And I'll just go into what what I think special about e-bikes, there's a few things. People used to think an e-bike was like a cheating type of thing. And it's a great enabling technology. Somebody who can no longer ride a bike for various issues, say, like in my case, I've got asthma, so I can't push a bike up a hill, whereas so an e-bike enables me to pedal up a hill. My neighbor Doug had knee issues and heart issues and was unable to pedal a bike. And now he's one of the greatest riders. He rides all over the place on his e-bike. Another thing about e-bikes is if you've got a long commute, it may not be practical to ride a normal bike. You arrive at work all sweaty. It's just too much. And an e-bike can help you overcome that. If you want to carry lots of stuff, carrying a lot of weight is no longer an issue. And also, I find psychological barriers, such as it's just the fact that there's that hill coming home that's just too much, and just the thought of going up that hill, but also the extra possibility of safety that the power of an e-bike gives you to get out of get across an intersection quickly, to not be sort of wiggling up the shoulder, but sort of ride with confidence, that kind of thing. We have helped people here on Salt Spring to get rid of their cars completely, or to move from being a multi-car family to a single car family. And that's something about e-bikes. If you're thinking about going electric, it may be a big step for to buy a brand new electric car, and you can get into being electric for a lot less, and also the amount of resources and energy is much less. It's basically 100 times less. So if you were to buy an electric car, it would have, say, a 70 kilowatt hour battery, and an electric bike has a 700 watt hour battery. So that is it's 100 times less. And it also uses almost 100 times less energy to get you from A to B while giving you some exercise. So we think it's a great technology. And I don't know if everybody can see this very well, but an electric bike is basically the same as an electric car in that it has a battery that you charge up, and it has a motor that provides power, but it's also a hybrid because you're combining human power and electric power, and you decide in what proportion. If you feel like you want to get more of a workout, then you turn the power of the electric motor down and use more of your own power. Or if you're getting tired out, or if you got a long way to go, you can use more of the power from the motor. It's not something that you recharge the battery by pedaling. It just doesn't make sense to do that. You'd have to work really hard for 7 hours to recharge an e-bike battery by pedaling. So it's basically you just charge it up like you would your phone or your laptop or your electric car, and then you ride and use the power up and plug it in when you get back home again.
So David, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end here, so maybe another minute at the most.
Sure, yeah. This is an exciting new offering that we have here for people who are not as interested in pedaling. So this is a high power electric bike that is basically more like a scooter. So if you like the look of this, get in touch. It's HILLEATER.ca, and my phone number is on the front page of the website as well. And that's my timer. So that's the end of my pictures there. And I'm happy to answer any questions in the chat.
Thank you, David. Appreciate that.
Welcome.
That last one. So that bike. You have pedal assist, and then this is something other, right? And it has to be. Do you have to have a license for this one? This last one you showed?
No. It's a bit of a gray area. It's an interesting area. You may see quite a few e-bikes that look something like a motorcycle or a motor scooter, but they still have pedals on them. And at this point, there's not really a good category for them. What we do is we have an on-road setting and an off-road setting, and we deliver the bike with the on-road setting, and it's the legal 500 watt power. And there's an off-road setting, and it's up to the rider to choose what setting they're using, on public roads. It is an area that needs to be worked on with legislation, but the government is, as always, is sort of behind the technology.
And thank you, David, for doing this.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Do you have an e-bike, or do you plan to buy one this year? And will you apply for the scrap it incentive for e-bikes? That is the question.
So it looks like we're coming in at people asking if they have an e-bike or do they plan to buy one this year. Majority are saying no. About 25% are saying yes, and about 21% are saying maybe. So that's bikes are maybe a harder leap for some people to think of as being their main vehicle, but I certainly know lots of people who do use it as their one and only source of transportation on the island. Will you apply for scrap and incentive if you're buying an e-bike? And 76% are saying no. We got about 21% saying yes on that one.
So okay, let's move on now. We are moving on actually to cars, and these are the dealerships that are with us. All have some very exciting offerings in the way of new vehicles coming down the line. Of course, supply is an issue, and so patience will be a virtue. But we'd like to begin. We drew straws as to who would start first, and so we start with Dave Bear, who, by the way, has been a real great supporter of Transition Salt Spring and the whole charger system and the Salt Spring EV group here. So Dave, over to you for your 5 minutes on Kia. From Dave from Harris Kia NANAIMO.
Yes, thanks for having me, Rob and Darlene and everyone else that's on here. It's a pleasure to be able to sit down and chat about electric cars. I've become a passionate fan of electric cars over the last few years, representing the brand Kia from South Korea. And we've currently got 3 electric cars in the marketplace, 2 that are for sale today. One that's the very first of the new electric EV6 is coming to market shortly. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it. I do have a very short slideshow, so I'm going to try to okay, so let me back up the bus here a little bit. So there's just my contact information. I'm the dealer principal at Harris Kia here in NANAIMO, and have been with the Kia brand almost 18 years. And being a dealership owner is an interesting thing when it comes to watching this whole transition from gasoline-powered cars to electric. It's going to be interesting. And I've just recently taken on a little bit of a different role. I'm going to be looking after our Mazda and our Chrysler store, which is here, both of which are just entering into the electric market as well. The first car that we've got, if I can see this here, the first car that we have, and we've had since the beginning of Kia being in Canada with an electric car, is the Kia Soul. And this EV car has been super popular. It's lots of room in it. It's a cool little car and does qualify for all of the incentives. And this car actually starts at $42,995. And it's still available today. I think it's in its 5th or 6th model year in this configuration. The Kia Niro EV joined the Kia lineup in 2019 and has become an overnight success, terrific car starting at $44,995. And this car features a 64 kilowatt hour battery, whereas the Soul offered a 39 kilowatt hour battery and also a 64 kilowatt hour battery, depending on the trim that you get. This is the car that a lot of people are talking about today, and the very first of the EV6s are here in Canada now and will be released to their owners, I understand, later this week, as early as this week, and for sure before the end of the month. A few of these cars have arrived. It's starting at $44,995, and so it's going to make this car fit with packages, fit for both of the $5,000 and the $3,000 rebates. And this car is also available in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and we're very excited to see that. The cool thing about the EV6 is different than the Soul and the Niro, which were not dedicated EV platforms. They were kind of gasoline cars that were made into electric cars. This is a dedicated EV platform, and it features what they call the Electric Global Modular Platform. So we'll see this platform used in several other models in the next couple of years. Very cool thing here. This car features ultra fast charging, 800 volt high speed charging system. I think it's the quickest in the business right now. And as long as the charger can give you that much power, and it'll give you, to give you an idea of the fast charging speed, in 4.5 minutes, this car will give you 100 kilometers of range. And you can take this car from 10% charged to 80% charged in 18 minutes using a high-speed charger. And that will charge this 77.4 kilowatt hour battery that this car has, and which is giving it range. And I think the official range they show is 499 kilometers for the Canadian market. Has a heat pump and all those things. Tons of information online about it. And they've just been introduced into the US, and they've been around in Europe and Korea for the last few months, getting rave reviews from the press, and we can't wait to see this car actually show up. So my time is just about up. I've got 30 seconds. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time. If you have any questions at all, please do reach out to me in the chat there. Here's my contact information again. That is my cell number. If you want to send me a text message or whatever, you're welcome to do that. And I would be delighted to help you, or anybody on my team would be happy to help you as well. So thanks for having me, and look forward to the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Dave. That Dave Bear from Harris Kia and NANAIMO. And Dave, that last car especially, wow, that one looks like a real exciting vehicle. All-wheel drive. We all, on Salt Spring, we like the idea of all-wheel drive because we live in a very hilly climate. Yeah. So, and when winter comes, well, most of us park our little EVs, if we live up as high as I do anyway. Moving on, we're going to go over to Peter Luke. And Peter is from Campus Nissan, and Campus Nissan, of course, has been selling the Leaf. The Leaf has made great inroads. We see a lot of Leafs on Salt Spring. And so, Peter, you must have something to do with that.
Well, I hope so. So my name is Peter Luke. I've been working at Campus Nissan for 12 years. I've been selling EVs for 10 years. And one of the things that's kind of difficult, because I've been a car salesman for 25 years. So one of the things that was difficult in the beginning was just really figuring out how to sell the customer or how to treat the customer, because as we've learned already, there's a lot of information and people don't want to make buying mistakes. So over the course of these 10 years that I've been selling the EV, you really learn that it's a completely different process than selling a regular car. And it's more of an education process. And so we've learned that And the other thing, you know, we didn't get into this initially 10 years ago with all the information. And even now, I don't think we have all the information. For instance, what's going to happen to the batteries in the future? Are they going to be able to be recycled? You know, these kinds of questions, we don't really have good answers for them. But, you know, we're learning as we go along. And that's, you know, I think that's a good thing. Now, the Leaf has been our bread and butter for 10 years, 11 years. The Leaf has been out. It's been in Canada for 10 years. And that's our bread and butter car. And it works. It fits in all of the rebates. We're on our 5th generation of Leaf right now. And honestly, I know that there was some difference of opinion with the look of the original car. Some people didn't like it that much. But the reality is it's a really good car. I've sold a lot of cars over the course of my life. And so I see the people come into the dealership for, you know, to get their cars repaired. And the Leaf, by and large, has a very low incidence of repair. I mean, yeah, you have to do, you know, the main thing with electric cars is they have a lot of torque. And as a result of that, you probably should be rotating your tires a little bit more often than you would with a regular gas vehicle. But at any rate, you know, by and large, the Leaf has been a very, very good vehicle for us. We've sold a lot of them. And we are pretty excited that we have the new Aria coming now. That's going to be an all-wheel drive vehicle. You know, I honestly don't know what the price point is going to be. I have a feeling if we take a look at all of the information that my fellow salespeople here are showing us, that the Aria is going to come in at somewhere like $44,999, you know, so that we can get those grants, but I don't know that, and that's for sure. I'd also like to say that, you know, as far as Salt Spring, the transition Salt Spring people, if you go to the country grocer, we put that charger in. If you go to the golf club, we put that charger in. We've been doing our bit. One of the things with respect to electric vehicles, cost of ownership, that kind of thing. There's a magazine website in the United States called Kelley Blue Book. And a couple of years, 2 years ago, I believe, Kelley Blue Book said that cost of ownership for a new Leaf was basically the lowest cost of ownership over the next 5 years. So that's one thing that, as a car salesman, we've all been, you know, worried about. Or this is one thing we have to talk about on a regular basis: is how much does it cost to own these cars? And they are expensive. I know the young fellow from BC, Plug-in BC, seems to think that the average cost of a car in Canada is $40,000. Well, that's like saying that the average cost of a house is X, but you have to throw in all those $3 and $4 and $5 million houses, and that's what brings. So you get a lot of Teslas in there to bring the cost of of cars down to $40,000. By and large, I think that's a pretty expensive price point for a lot of people. But you know, the cars last a long time, and they do pay for themselves in the long run. So the Aria is coming next, and we are pretty excited about that. We're going to have a 61 kilowatt hour battery and a 91 kilowatt hour battery. Range is supposed to be somewhere in the around 500 kilometers. And we, you know, on the Nissan website, on Nissan Canada website, you can put in an order for it now. And it, one of the things that maybe is throwing people off a little bit is if you put your order in, sometimes the Nissan Canada website comes back and says, we're not taking orders at this point. Campus Nissan is actually one of the largest EV sellers in Canada. And so we do have good allocation from the factory, and that's how it works in the car business. If you sell, you get. So we have very good allocation from the factory because we've been the #1 EV dealer for Nissan in the Nissan world for a few years. And as a result, we're going to get good allocation for the Aria. And if you want one, I'll get you one. Might take a while. Obviously, the chip shortage and all the rest of it is kind of a pain to deal with, but we don't have anything to do except accept that and just wait, basically. Now, as far as the wait times are going, you know, we always have a lot of orders in for the Leaf, and certainly we have a lot of orders right now for the Aria too. The process has been really confusing for all of us because we're not getting information. It's just that simple. These car companies, they're large multinational companies. And so a little place like Campus Nissan in Victoria, they don't deem it that they have to give us a lot of information. And so, I mean, all of us, you know, my sales manager, I ask him on a regular basis, hey, when's so-and-so's car is coming? And, you know, the good news is we are getting 12 Leafs built in January or in February for March delivery. We have 25 orders for March build, and again, another 25 or 30 orders that are accepted, and those would be our May delivery. So we're, by the end of sometime in spring, May-ish, we're going to be able to get, you know, be through our orders and then be on to, you know, be able to sell you a new car. And the Aria is coming. We believe we're going to have one for you to test drive in the summer.
But thank you very much. I use those chargers that you help put up at Country Grocer quite often. So thank you for your part to play with that one and supporting Salt Spring in that capacity. Let's move on now to DUNCAN Hyundai and Mitz Nakagawa. Mitz, I think one of the cool things about what we've done here is we've got representation from NANAIMO to Victoria and DUNCAN in between, so that because you know that Salt Springers will go far and wide to find the deals. So Mitz, over to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, that looks
awesome.
Good.
Well, yeah, so my name is Mitz Nakagawa from DUNCAN Hyundai. I just want to thank everybody for coming and joining us here. My cover page here is kind of Hyundai's future for electric vehicles. So I'm going to try and pack as much of that into 5 minutes as I can. We've had the Kona out for about 3 years now, front wheel drive compact utility vehicle. I'm going to kind of assume that people have seen enough of them and they're more interested in the Ioniq. So I'm going to focus on that because it's kind of what we're all excited about. So Ioniq 5, that's what it looks like in the ultimate trim. First electric vehicle that we're offering on our new platform, which is a modular platform. So you can see in the diagram there, there's space for one engine or two engines. So it comes in all-wheel drive capability. And then the battery takes up the whole floor. It's kind of like a bunch of Legos stacked together, like tiny little battery packs that all go together to make one large pack. And then the entire thing, I think of like an electric skateboard that they can then build whatever they want on top. So what they've built is basically, another way I think of it, a cell phone on wheels. This is kind of my way of thinking about the range issue. We've been talking a lot about batteries and how far these cars go. And in our opinion, it's a little bit of a red herring because it's like your phone. You get home, you plug it in, and you wake up every day with full range. So in the case of the Ioniq 5, depending which trim you get, it's going to have between 380 to 480 kilometers. So on a full charge, you're really going to struggle to use the whole thing in a day. So I think as far as a barrier to entry, I kind of hope that people will come to terms with that and jump in there. For people that are curious, I do have the charging times here. This is another advancement. I think over the Kona, the new one's a little faster. So you have a level 2 7 kilowatt hour charger at home. You can see there almost 7 hours, so easy overnight charge. Level 3 is 50 kilowatt hours. Those are the DC chargers that are around the island. And you can see they're about an hour for a charge, so definitely more convenient than they used to be. And then as Dave was saying about the EV6, they're built with similar technology. Obviously, they're sister companies. So on a level 3, 350 kilowatt charger, that's where you get the 80% in 18 minutes. That is kind of Hyundai's big tagline for this vehicle, but it's exciting because it kind of opens up the possibility of maybe a road trip, like a cross-Canada trip, where you stop, you go to the bathroom, and you're back at 400 kilometers, let's say, just throw a number out there. So the first thing that people ask us, I'm going to kind of go through a few different questions that people have, try to kind of blast the technology there. But obviously the first thing that people are concerned about is safety. Hyundai has the Smart Sense program, which is a dense column of words that's a ton of safety features. The highlights that people look for, forward collision avoidance, which is automatic, blind spot collision avoidance, the rear view camera that people always want, lane keep assist. These are all things that are standard right from the base models. So really give some peace of mind there, and also give you a little help with your insurance. And then the heated seat and heated steering wheel included in all of them as well, because they found that that's more efficient than running the HVAC system. So it helps with battery longevity. A lot of decisions made in these cars have to do with that. We'll move on to the next one real quick. Still on safety. I'll share a link with you guys later on. The NCAP is a safety testing organization. We've got 2 test results, one from Australia, one from Europe, both 5 stars. And the video is, very entertaining. You get to watch them smash up a bunch of Ionics. Somehow satisfying. For a competition, I'm sure even more. So the next question that people ask is about space, because they want to use their vehicle for different things. Sometimes with electric vehicles, especially years ago, there's a lot of battery, a lot of motor, and not a lot of cargo space. This is Bjorn Nyland. He's a car reviewer on YouTube, and I think he's in Denmark or Norway. His metric for measuring cargo space is banana boxes, which I find personally more helpful than cubic whatever as far as visualization goes. So as you can see, he managed to fit 11 banana boxes in the trunk of the Ioniq 5, 25 with the seats down, which is right up at the top of the list there. Although I will say the EV6 is not on here, and it's probably in a similar category. So fairness to Dave there. And then the top one there, the Mercedes, is a minivan. So we're not going to count that one. But I'll share that link as well. He's a very entertaining reviewer, and he has tons of videos on the product. So not just ours, but everybody's. I think he's a really valuable resource for people that are looking for information. We did our own space metric, 25 feet of humanity there. So shortest guy there is Scott. He's 6 feet. Then you got Colton, 6'1". I'm 6'2". Andy, our general manager, is about 6'7". So what we did is we just packed ourselves in. We put the 2 tallest guys in one row. So I'm in the front and Andy's right behind me there. And you can see we're all sitting comfortably in there. Having that flat platform really allows our designers to put a lot of space in there. So when you see one of these in real life, it doesn't do it justice. They're way larger inside than they look. As you can see, nobody's cramped. Everybody's happy. We'll move on from space, just conscious of time here. Somebody earlier did mention the V2L, or vehicle to load. That's something that is offered on the Ioniq 5. There's an adapter that you can get, or if you get the ultimate trim, there's an outlet in the vehicle. And that's really exciting, because that's what we're talking about, using that huge lithium-ion battery to try and put some power either back into the grid or back into your home. I had a conversation with Jim the other day. He was saying on solid spring, power outages are a concern. So with the vehicle to load, we have a screen there in the vehicle. I'll just show it up here. So top left is the EV button. We press that, we get this screen. Bottom right is the charge transfer screen. And that does is allow you to choose how much battery you want to reserve when you're using the V2L system. So power goes out on solid spring. You run an extension cord into your house with a power bar and like fridge, freezer maybe, and make sure that when the power comes back on, you can still drive your car to the grocery store or what have you, because you can reserve battery using the settings within the vehicle. Looking to the future of this system, oh, that's just a picture of the adapter there. Looking to the future of this system, just with a bit of math, an average BC home uses about 22 kilowatt hours a day. I don't think the infrastructure is in place to do this yet, but theoretically, you could run your household with an Ioniq 5 for 3 days using the battery, and then still have about 100 kilometers of range left afterwards to get out and do whatever you need to do there. And to prove the point, this is Robert Llewellyn. He's got a YouTube channel called The Fully Charged Show. He's one of the first previewers of the vehicle. And this is just a picture of him charging a Kona using the Ioniq 5, which is a gimmick and not practical, but kind of entertaining, I think. So our full lineup of electric and eco vehicles, let's say, we've got 10 on offer in different models. So obviously the basic 4 hybrids on the left, which will not qualify for rebates. They have to be at least a plug-in. But that's where your entry point might be for customers that can't afford the cost. That's another barrier of entry, right? So the Elantra starts at about $26,000 for a hybrid, which for somebody who's green conscious can be a really valuable stepping stone vehicle, right? And it'll hopefully maintain its value so you can trade it in later. Then you got your plugins, they get the $4,000 rebate, and then you get the battery electric vehicles. We've had the Kona, obviously, there's the Ioniq 5. Ioniq 6 is scheduled for this year, but probably early next year, given all the difficulties that we've been having.
So Mitz, we're at the end of your time, I'm afraid. If you have 5 seconds of something.
5 seconds? Oh, I can do 5 seconds, no problem. Schedule, May, June, July is when all of our cars are scheduled to go in production this year. So if you order one, give it a couple months after that for the first to arrive. I mean, again, fingers crossed. And if anybody can print screen or screen capture, all my contact info is there. Please feel free to text me, email, whatever. And we've got a great team at Duncan Hyundai. We'll be happy to help you out with whatever you need. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mitch. So now we're going to move on to down to Victoria. We're going to we're working our way down island again, and now we're going to head to Charles Scrooby, who's from BMW Victoria. And welcome, Charles.
I want to thank Rob Lowry for the opportunity to do a presentation, short presentation for you folks, so you have a bit more knowledge of what BMW and Mini have to offer for you. I'm going to go over what we had, what we're going to have, and what we currently have available for you to consider at the moment. Firstly, I'll just get my colleague to come forward a bit. Previously, we had the i3 up to 2021. However, it's no longer in production, so you cannot order those. So there's basically your pre-owned market, or what you find, like we still got one left. Might find 1 or 2 new ones on the market. What is coming for the future? Very exciting for BMW this year in terms of we're going to have the i4 Grand Coupe, and we're going to have the iX, so a fully electric 4 Series 4-door and a fully electric iX, which is basically the size of our BMW X5. And the ranges of there basically 425 to about 525 kilometers. It's a huge step up for BMW in terms of what the range is. So that's what we're going to be having April, March this year. We'll have our first demonstrator models. So if you would like to be interested, get advice of that, please let me know, and I'll let you know when they're available for test drive. Currently what we do have, so that's on BMW side. On the Mini side, we have got the Mini SE, currently a 2022 model, and that's this model just to my right. So the Mini SE's got a range of about 170 to 175 kilometers, depending on the weather, depending on the battery, etc. like that. The air conditioning does reduce the consumption, the range of the Mini, like it does with any electric vehicle, but there's good ways to manage the power of your vehicle. So, lovely little car. Like I said, this is 2022. We currently do have one in stock because I think we all suffer from the same challenges with the chip shortages. There's not a whole lot of vehicles available in the market, but thankfully we've got one available, and we are taking orders for people wanting to design some, especially for themselves and their spouses. If you come around the side, nice and more Mini. They call it a 3-door because you've got the driver and passenger door, and it's got the little logo on the back, on the ground when you open it up. It's just little refinements of the vehicle. On my links, I'll send you links for all the charging stations. So a lot of people want to know about charging stations. We'll have somebody speaking about rebates tonight, so you'll be familiar with what the rebates are. And the warranties of the vehicle is as follows. On a Mini, 4-year 80,000 manufacturer's warranty. With the servicing, you've got a 3-year 40,000 service warranty. So it's, with Mini, it's once a year or every 15,000 kilometers. And we keep touch with our clients to make sure they get their free servicing. That's part of the deal. The batteries for the electric part of the vehicle is situated in the front and the back wheels, and that comes with an 8-year warranty and consists of 6 cells. And with us, it's not a prorated if something goes wrong. And I see a thing about being cells. If one cell falters, then they can replace it without replacing the whole battery pack. And that's an 8-year warranty, not prorated, meaning if something goes wrong in year 7, they'll replace it without any charge to our actual clients. If you come around the side, you'll see in the middle. Nicely appointed. 2022 was a bit of a facelift for our vehicle, so we've got a heated steering wheel, which we didn't have before. Navigation, it's well appointed, and we found even really tall people be able to get in our vehicles, either chips of 6'2", 6'3", nobody can sit in the back, but they can actually fit in our vehicles, which is obviously wonderful. So, Julian, thank you again for the opportunity to present what we have. We didn't have a lot of time, but I will send links with all the stats, the figures, where you can see different bits of information. So it's a lot to digest, and you feel free to reach out to me if you'd like to set up a test drive or you would like to know more about our products we have on offer. Thank you again. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Charles. So now let's move on to Michael Pritchard with Volkswagen Victoria. I know that there's some vehicles that have been running around Europe for a year or two that have got a lot of people excited about them coming here. Michael.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me. So, yeah, we've had a few electric vehicles over the years, from the e-Golf into what came out in like 2014 in Europe, 2015 in the United States, and 2018 in Canada. Great seller. We at Volkswagen Victoria probably sold more e-Golfs than anyone else in Canada, outside of 2 places in Quebec, but they get pretty big rebates, so it's understandable. Now what we have is our new offering is the ID vehicles. So got quite a few of these coming out, starting with what we have now is the ID4. So the ID is a brand new concept from Volkswagen. It's a new platform, just like as everyone else's. It's a modular platform built around the battery. The ID stands for Intelligent Design, just in case if anyone is interested what that is. It's built on the MEB platform. This platform is going to be shared between Volkswagen and its other groups. So Skoda, Audi, Seat will use the same platform. I've heard rumors that Ford will use it in Europe as well, as Volkswagen and Ford has been kind of collaborating on a few different things lately. So they're going to be doing some really cool stuff here. This is my email address. So if anybody does have questions about this afterwards, please feel free to email me. I am the EV specialist at Volkswagen. So in here, the module electric drive toolkit, this is where everything is built around the battery, the motors, focusing on maximizing efficiency, maximizing space inside, and they've done a very good job on it. Batteries right down on the floor. It's not taken into the cabin space, so you are getting quite a bit of space inside for everybody. Volkswagen, there's lots to go over here, so just try and quickly get through as much as I can here. So Volkswagen has what they're calling is the way to zero. So they want to be completely carbon neutral before 2050. They're going to drop 40% of CO2 emissions by 2030. They are doing, and it's not just, building electric vehicles. They are taking the entire supply chain and making sure it's sustainable. So going from, the factories that are building little tiny switches for windows and stuff like that, making sure those factories are sustainable. If they don't meet this certain criteria, Volkswagen will completely ditch them and go to another manufacturer to do that. They want to, I think within the next few years, is have most of our factories being supplied by wind and solar power. We're already starting to see that in Zwickau, Germany, which is where the ID series are being built. And then also going into recycling. So they are going through different components of the actual batteries and completely, what does happen to these batteries after the end of life? Where are they going? It's always the big question is you see it online, you hear it everywhere, and what does this happen? So they are able to, really kind of dismantle these batteries and get them right through, basically pulling a lot of the bits out of it that shouldn't be, going to the waste, and putting them into new batteries, putting them into chargers, and lots of other various things. So going into our ID4, so 125 kilowatt charger. Level 1, it's 5 kilometers an hour. Level 2, you're about 50 kilometers an hour, or 7.5 hours to 100%. And a level 3 charger will do about 80% in 38 minutes from zero. Few other things that's going to set Volkswagen aside from the other competitors here. You do get Volkswagen's 3 years of free charging at Electrify Canada locations. Currently, there's only one on Vancouver Island, that's in NANAIMO, but they're starting to slowly expand that across the board. By 2025-ish, you should see a complete network completely across Canada. Right now, I think if you look at the map, it's kind of Manitoba and Saskatchewan is kind of a late to the game in terms of the electrified network, and it's just total dead zone. So ID4 Pro, that is what we call our first electric vehicle. It's an SUV. Comes in two variants. A rear-wheel drive is $44,995 plus your fees and taxes on top of that. The all-wheel drive is from $49,995. So I believe this does put it at the cheapest all-wheel drive option on the market right now for an electric vehicle. It comes with a ton of features. So standard features, you're going to get everything from, all the safety features. You have wireless charging, wireless CarPlay, heated steering wheel, heated seats. You get heated windshield, heated rear windshield, heated mirrors, all standard stuff. It has a heat pump as well. It does do pre-warming as well. So absolutely during the wintertime, if you are going to be stuck under a blanket of snow, you can set it right from your phone. You can just start it warming up while it's charging and saving your battery life that way there. So we call our safety suite as the IQ. So that is our safety suite. Standard feature. You don't pay any extra to get any of the additional safety features. Volkswagen has made sure it's standard. So you are going to get everything from the blind spot indicator, lane assist, travel assist, emergency assist, backup cameras, everything like that is going to be standard feature there. Going into terms of the safety on it, IIHS, so the did pick it for top safety pick plus. Here's some screenshots of some amazing crashes, but really it just shows the German engineering design of Volkswagens of they can take a hit and you can still walk away. There is a lot going on for Volkswagen. They want our complete lineup to be electric by 2035. It's going to be fully electric. They're going away from gasoline models. The combustion engines that you see on the market today for Volkswagen is the last combustion engine designs they're going to make. They're not going to put any more effort into it. All of the R&D is going to electric cars. The next one coming for us, and this is the biggest question, is the ID Buzz, announced 9th of March, 2022.
Sorry to interrupt, Michael. You've got maybe 30 seconds left.
Cool. This is it. So ID Buzz, 9th of March, 2022. That's getting announced. Don't know when it goes on sale. Probably comes for 2023. For the ID4 as well, we have taken a huge number of orders. We've done over 200 orders so far. We fulfilled at least 60 of them. We've got 25 more coming for 2021 models, and we should see 2022 models arriving in summer of 2022. Current ETA, just so that everyone knows, is probably 10 to 14 months, depending on what you pick. And that's it. Please, I'll put my email down below. If anyone has questions, you can send me an email anytime.
Thank you very much, Michael. That VW, I'm sure, hits the spot for a lot of folks who may have had VW vans in their lives at some point. It would be great to have an electric VW van. That'd be fantastic. Yeah, the Buzz. Moving on now to MOTORIZE, our last presenter, our last dealer. Now, MOTORIZE, as you may know, sells used EVs, and I know that this puts you in a kind of a wrap-up position here, Julian. You've been hearing all kinds of them, watching and being very active in chat, and so over to you to kind of bring it home.
Oh, geez, I get to close up, do I? Well, now I've just spent this time looking at the ID Buzz. I just want one. I just want to have one out front and go jump in it, burn up and down my street.
No, me too.
Yeah, no, thanks everybody for coming together. It's really great to get industry professionals and listeners alike just to talk about EVs. I don't really have I don't need a screen share or anything, so I'll give the crash course on MOTORIZE. We opened up 13 years ago, almost 14. Started doing hybrids, retail sales, and got into EVs kind of as soon as we could. And we've been sort of doing EVs exclusively since 2016. We do quite a good volume of business. We have 2 stores and 10 staff members, and we're certainly growing. We have sold lots over on Salt Spring and all over British Columbia, really enjoy the interaction with the customers, and we certainly enjoy learning all about all brands as we've gone along. You know, I got familiar with the Nissan Leaf up front, and everything else sort of came after that. And now I've got about $1.5 million worth of inventory EVs in stock all the time and ready to go. So myself and my staff gets to learn a lot about EVs, and especially learn how to answer questions for customers, because many of our customers have you know, the same questions. We hear the same questions from lots of people, but as all these new models come out, and you know, Kia and Porsche and Hyundai are going to 800 volt systems. There's all this cool technology happening, and everybody's talking about heat pumps and who knows what. So it's really exciting to be able to have answers all in one place for all brands, pretty much. So yeah, if you're selling an EV, I'm not actually here to sell any EVs. I actually want you to sell me your EV. So please tell people who have EVs, I want to buy those EVs. You have friends that have them, please send them to me. Ask them to trade up. I've got everything in stock except, well, you know, those new hot models we talked about today. But I'm the buyer for MOTORIZE. I'm not even interested in selling. I just buy all the time. Anyway, I would like to talk about the maturation of the auto industry companies, care of Tesla. Tesla spawned an EV movement that didn't exist before they came on the scene. Nissan had some stuff going on, but it's really been kicked into high gear. And as an automotive enthusiast myself, I'm super excited to see every manufacturer coming to the table with cool, new, cutting-edge stuff that is EV. So it's different than what all the OEMs have been used to doing for years. But just like you know, Charles, you I think mentioned BMW. If you're a BMW owner, you're going to love what it feels like to get in a BMW EV. So every manufacturer's got their own brand, their own style, and probably every EV that comes out is quite literally the best vehicle that those manufacturers have ever produced up to this date. So from a technological advancement point, it's a really exciting time to be in the car industry, because everything that's coming out is so much better than what we had 5 years ago. Really cool stuff. It would take another whole Zoom to answer all of the questions accurately that came up in the chat. But I'll just zip through a bunch of these things super quick as I've taken notes. And if anybody has questions, I'll open the chat here and see if I can read any. But yeah, EV charging stuff. There's CHAdeMO, which Nissan and Mitsubishi and a few other, Kia was using those in the beginning. That's for DC fast charge. It's kind of getting phased out now. It was used on a bunch of different manufacturers' cars. CCS Combo is another one, like Chevy Bolt and most of the new Hyundai Kia stuff. They're all CCS combo chargers for DC fast charge. And then you got the Tesla, the Tesla connector, which is really common. But that's it for DC fast charging. There's basically the 3 types that you have to look out for. All-wheel drive models have been talked about a lot in the chat today. Almost every manufacturer has something either in production or in planned production. So if you want an all-wheel drive EV, you can contact MOTORIZE. We've got them in stock, ready to go, or literally anybody here that's presenting a dealer or representing a dealer has all-wheel drive stuff coming soon. Supply chain constraints were talked about a little bit. Every new OEM is really hurting for new vehicles, and would probably love to have, you know, an unlimited number of EVs available for the consumers, because the demand is so high right now. But yeah, everybody is handcuffed. You got manufacturers in Singapore and Malaysia and Mexico and Brazil and Canada and the US and all over the world that are making parts for EVs. And due to COVID, their staff is short. They can't produce enough parts. You can't produce enough new vehicles. You've got older vehicles that are stuck on the road longer than they should be because new vehicle production is down. So people, instead of buying a new vehicle, they stick with an old vehicle. Parts demand goes up. Anyway, it's a nightmare for new car production. I hope that everybody's supply chains get sorted out and inventory is relieved soon. I know everybody's really waiting on that. Somebody had talked about road trips and DC fast charging and stuff. And yeah, there's all this talk of having super high speed chargers and whatnot. The fastest EV charge stations that we're all going to come to rely, well, they were 50 kilowatts. Now we've got hundreds. Tesla's got 250s. But Petro-Canada, if you want to drive across Canada in an EV, you can do it. You can go coast to coast, just north of the Canada-US border, and only use Petro-Canada chargers. They have DC fast charging straight across the country. So, if you're worried about doing a long range trip, it's really no problem. And pretty much any EV with a range over 250, you can do it today. Maybe not in the winter, unless you have a really big battery. But yeah, so road trips are really no problem in most areas. If the further you go away from populated areas, the harder it is to find DC fast chargers, but you can really find level 1 and 2 charging everywhere. People have been talking a little bit about batteries and recycling and stuff. It's actually a profitable industry right now. It's just still growing in size because the supply of used batteries isn't very big. But these things do not go in landfills. They're worth a lot of money. If you could find them in landfills, you'd drive in, you'd pick them up and haul them out, because it would be like finding a $3,000 chunk of gold in a landfill. So you'd want to take that. EV failures have come up in the chat a bunch of times. I think
got about 30 seconds, Julian.
Yeah, well, so I'll leave it there. If anybody has any questions, you can answer them or ask them, and I'll do my best to answer. Self-driving cars, once we've all bought EVs, well, next. Yeah, well, self-driving cars are already coming. They're already on the road. They're just not self-driving yet, but they're already kind of here, right, Jim Standen? Anyway, no, that's it. Thanks for everybody for all the amazing information tonight. That's all I have.
You're a wealth of knowledge, Julian, and you've also been a very great supporter of the whole EV movement here on Salt Spring. I know the Salt Spring EV group is very thankful for everything you've done for us over here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I can't do it without awesome customers. So here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be great. There's so many questions that have come up in chat, and we have not really allowed time for that. But it does get the wheels turning, and there's a lot of research that we can all do individually to follow up with that. And we'll be doing more on EVs. There's no doubt. Someone mentioned the Ford F-150, the whole world of trucks, and the all-wheel drive choices are becoming quite exciting for EV consumers, potential new buyers. So we'll get into those too at some point. Yes, well, having gone through all of this information, rebates, choices with cars, we just wanted to see. We'll put the poll up. It'll be how likely is it that you'll be buying an EV?
So it looks like here that we're getting a really high percentage of very likely that they'll at least take the next steps in trying to buy themselves an electric car. Looking at 67% is about what I'm coming out at here. A few more answers coming in for anyone else who wants to answer that poll question. Got about 5 more seconds. But good to see the majority of people here are at least going to be taking some next steps. So we hope we've given you some confidence in asking some good questions and helping you to make up your mind.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Thank you very much, Darlene, for putting those out. And thank you very much to Salt Spring Books, to the EV group, and to Mowat's Home Hardware for providing us those great prizes. We're just going to be wrapping it up now. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. It's been great. The polls, your activity in the chats, and the contest has been fantastic. And to our featured guests who worked hard to put together their presentations and give us their information and their years of experience, I think we really benefited tonight from information presented, and it was a wealth of knowledge that we had before us. Now let's go back to Bryan to close things off, and thank you for being with us.
Thanks so much, Rob. I learned a lot tonight. Actually, I learned primarily that the market's gotten a lot more complicated than when I first bought my EV a few years ago. So it's really exciting. I can see that the all-wheel drive thing is going to be really popular among Salt Springers, given the hills and the geography. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, again, thanks to our sponsors for the coach program. Not only have they provided us financial support, they've also been really enthusiastic partners. We have great relationships with each of them, and they really love what they do. So please do support them. So we generally hold 1 to 2 webinars a month. At least one of them is done on the Climate Action Coach program which started a year ago. It's going really well in terms of being able to provide advice to homeowners and residents on a range of topics to help us all change behavior so that we can get that juice down, get those greenhouse gas emissions down, and make our homes more energy efficient. Great way to hear about it is through our newsletter. So if you don't get the newsletter, or if you're new to Transition Salt Spring, please do sign up. We promise not to send you lots of stuff, but we will send you a timely and a newsletter with lots of great information, like about some of our upcoming programs. It's easy to sign up. Just check out the screen here, and we also can't do without your support. I'm a volunteer, but we have people who are not volunteers who work for Transition Salt Spring. We create employment for islanders, and that's always a really good thing. So your donations are very important to support our work. That's also an easy thing to do, just by going to the website, transitionsaltspring.com. We love monthly donations. We also love the one-time donations, very important to keep things flowing here. And you'll be hearing about lots of exciting programs in the coming months. Our next webinar will feature our brand new wood stove upgrade rebate, thanks to funding from the BC government and BC Lung, all with an aim to get our emissions down and to help improve local air quality. And the incentives will be $750 for installing a heat pump if you've got a wood stove, and a $300 incentive for swapping out that old clunker you may have with a new wood stove that puts out less particulate and fewer emissions to help us all breathe more easily. We look forward to telling you a lot more. We know that's going to be a popular one. It's going to be available on Salt Spring and on the Southern Gulf Islands. Got that Pender and Galliano in Maine and Saturna. So stay tuned in our newsletter and on social media for more. You can also get out on a wait list we have for that program and for the next one I'm going to tell you about. Go to our website under Climate Action Coach, and you can get on the wait list for the wood stove upgrade rebate as well. We're also excited. We had a lot of fun last year with the rainwater harvesting rebate. Who knew that people love saving water in that way? We had a ton of attention. We got a great press from CBC, their morning show, and that garnered a lot of attention. And actually, I probably brought some of the Vancouver Islanders who we still have with us today, so that's great. And the really good news, thanks to the CRD, is that we're doubling the size of the program and our reach. So that's also going to apply to the Southern Gulf Islands for the first time. So you can also register for that to get on the wait list. Obviously, there are a couple more hoops you got to jump through. You got to install the darn thing for one thing, but there are some criteria. So do take a look at our Climate Action Coach section of our website under the rainwater harvesting rebate for more information. So last of all, thanks for being here. It was really great to see all of your participation, and it's really gratifying on behalf of all of us here to see your interest and support in doing stuff together to try and bring down those greenhouse gases and make Salt Spring a healthier place for everyone. So tell your friends and your neighbors about our work, and stay tuned for more. We look forward to seeing all of you at our next webinar. And thanks again, Rob and Darlene, for anchoring, and for all our guests. It was really a pleasure to hear everyone tonight. So thanks very much, and all the best to you. Thanks for coming, and good night.
Good night.
Hi, I'm Richard.
I'm Hannah.
We're with Whirlwind Heating and Refrigeration.
And we're proud to be sponsors of Transition Salt Spring's Climate Action Coach program.